Last night, from the diplomatic reception room of the White House, President Donald Trump did something we've rarely seen in his first year back in office. He took to the airwaves for a primetime address to the nation. The goal? To reclaim a narrative that is rapidly slipping through his fingers. Despite the president labeling the current economy as A+++++ in a recent interview, the American public isn't buying the grade. With his approval rating now crashing below the 40% mark and his economic stewardship at a term low of 33%, the golden age Trump promised on the campaign trail is facing a harsh reality check. Tonight on Aware Times, we're breaking down the three major pillars of this address: the pocketbook promises, the escalating trade war with the Federal Reserve, and a sudden, dramatic pivot to a naval blockade in South America. Is this a strategic reset or a president losing touch with the very voters who put him back in the Oval Office? Let's start with the optics. Unlike the traditional Oval Office setting, Trump chose the diplomatic reception room for this address. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt teased the speech as a victory lap for historic accomplishments. But the data tells a different story. According to the latest Reuters Ipsos poll, Trump's approval has slumped to 39%, down from 47% at his inauguration in January. Even more concerning for the GOP, his support among his own base is showing hairline fractures. Approval of his economic handling among Republicans has dropped from 78% to 72% in just 1 month. Why the slide? It's the pocketbook issue. While the White House touts lower border crossings and energy deregulation, the NPR/PBS News Marist poll confirms that 45% of Americans say prices are their number one concern. Housing follows at 18%. For a year, the president has mocked Democratic concerns over affordability as a hoax. But after Democrats swept key off-year elections in November by focusing almost exclusively on the cost of living, the hoax rhetoric is being replaced by a frantic push to make America affordable again, a pivot we saw in his Pennsylvania speech last week and again in last night's address. Here is where the A++++ rating meets the cold reality of the supply chain. In a stunningly rare move last week, Fed Chair Jerome Powell went public with a direct critique of the administration's policies. Powell reported that inflation, which is currently stuck at nearly 3%, well above the Fed's 2% target, is now being driven almost entirely by the goods sector, and specifically, entirely in sectors where there are tariffs. Think about that. The president's signature reciprocal tariff policy, designed to bring manufacturing back home, is being blamed by the central bank for the very price hikes that are tanking his approval ratings. Our team looked into the latest manufacturing data. In October alone, the U.S. economy shed over 100,000 jobs, many in the manufacturing sectors hit hardest by retaliatory trade measures. While Trump promised a manufacturing boom, the Center for American Progress reports a net loss of 58,000 manufacturing jobs since the reciprocal tariffs were announced in April. Last night, Trump doubled down, insisting that the tariffs are filling the federal coffers and that prices will eventually stabilize. But for the average American family seeing 25% higher grocery bills since 2020 eventually isn't fast enough. To counter the bad news, the president spent a significant portion of his address promoting a new policy, Trump accounts. These are tax-advantaged investment vehicles for every child born between 2025 and 2028. The administration is promising a $1,000 government seed contribution for newborns with the goal of building generational wealth. And there's a massive new update here that adds weight to this plan. Billionaire Michael Dell and his wife Susan have pledged over $6 billion to help fund an additional $250 for the first 25 million children in low to middle income zip codes. Initial seed, $1,000 plus $250. Annual limit, $5,000 tax-free contribution. Restrictions, no withdrawals until age 18. Investment, strictly broad U.S. equity indexes. While conservatives praise this as Ownership Society 2.0, critics and even some investment experts warn it's a distraction. The Cato Institute pointed out that these accounts have more strings attached than traditional 529 college savings plans. Plus, a $1,000 grant 18 years from now doesn't help a parent struggling to buy formula today. Perhaps the most shocking moment of the week didn't come from a policy paper, but from a Truth Social post and a subsequent confirmation in the address. President Trump has ordered a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela. He's not just calling for sanctions anymore. He's calling for a naval chokehold. Trump has officially designated the Maduro regime a foreign terrorist organization and is demanding the return of all the oil, land, and assets stolen from us, a reference to the nationalization of the Venezuelan oil industry decades ago. The U.S. Navy has already deployed an armada, including one of the world's largest aircraft carriers, to the region. Venezuela has called this a grotesque threat, and domestic critics, like Representative Joaquin Castro, are calling it an unquestionable act of war. Why no? Some analysts suggest this is a wag-the-dog scenario, a massive foreign policy escalation to distract from the 33% economic approval rating at home. By framing the blockade as a drug smuggling and national security issue, Trump is trying to pivot back to his strength as a tough-on-crime and America-first leader. As the president heads to North Carolina this Friday for another rally in Rocky Mount, the stakes couldn't be higher. Republicans are terrified. The 2026 midterms are less than a year away, and if the affordability crisis continues to be the defining issue, the GOP's control of the House and Senate is in grave danger. Trump's address last night was an attempt to paint a picture of a golden age in progress. He talked about A+++++ grades, $1,000 for babies, and naval blockades. But the question remains, can a primetime speech fix the price of eggs? Or has the narrative already shifted toward a Democratic Party that is hungry to turn pocketbook concerns into a political landslide? We want to hear from you. Do you think the Trump accounts are a genius way to build long-term wealth, or is the Fed right about tariffs causing the inflation we see today? Let us know in the comments below. For Aware Times, I'm your host. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay informed on the stories that shape our world.